Hello and welcome everybody to this webinar of December 2020, last year. But first of all, I would like to wish everybody a happy new year. So we got a great new release with a lot of new features. So I think we can just go ahead and go to the features because there are a lot of them. Again, if you want to see the roadmap, go to roadmap.helloid.com, or if you need support, you can contact support or your office nearby who did your implementation or partner. And of course, don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel so you will get notified that this webinar starts. So first off, let's go to the features. So as you can see, I already have the roadmap view open, and here you can see the new features. So for access management, we have the ability to create custom reports, and I think we have a one report here, multi-factor, but I think it was 4 reports, but I will show you that in a minute, which is really nice, but I will go into depth to this feature. And the other one is the multiple enrollment registration, which allows us to register multiple devices of the same type. So you can use two-factor from 2 email addresses. For service automation, we have a new API support. I won't show that in the demo, but it's for the delegated form categories. You can read on doc side how it works and what you can do with it. Of course, a big one, the redesigned end user portal. So it's a completely new redesign, and I think all the offices did some communication on that to all the customers. So hopefully you already saw it, and of course the release is already there, so you did notice it. And another big feature is the PowerShell data sources. I'll talk about that more in depth as well. And for provisioning, we got a filtered contract data based on condition of business rules. It's a little bit technical, but I can explain some things about it. But I think in the next webinar, in the January release, I'll put some more focus on this because it's really tight coupled with the dynamic permissions feature in the next sprint. And of course, we have the ability to export reports like correlation and audit logging. And I would like to ask you if you have some features that you really want me to show and that you think are really nice to show and go a little bit more in depth, because I don't think I can show all the features in the next 30 minutes because there are too much. And as example, I can talk about 30 minutes about the reports. So please put in the chat right there what you would like to see, so I can check the suggestions and I can use that to determine the order of features. I don't see anything yet, so let's first start. For me, a big one is a redesign, of course. I think all your customers already noticed this, but we had a big change in the end user portal. So it's not in the admin portal, but in the end user portal, which is mobile first designed. So that means it's designed for the mobile and a tabular, of course, and then translated to desktop. So it's easier to use it with a mobile device and to do requests of products, starting applications and things like that. So as you can see, the design is a little bit more simpler. We have a new menu bar, which is really nice, which you can hide and show again. So it's easier to navigate, and you had a bigger screen on your mobile or tablet, but of course also on the desktop to navigate or to show our content. The other major improvement is the search bar. So in the previous one, it will search in application and products at once, but it was a bit difficult for everybody to see, okay, which page I'm going to and what I'm searching in. And here you will always search on the content of the page that they're showing. So in this case, you will search for the applications. And if I go to my products page like this, I can search on the products. So that's a little bit simpler. And also the search is on every page the same. So in this case, if we go into applications back again, I also have the categories, which are the categories of the application, but we also did the same for products under service automation and also under the service Bali, or the service desk, I have to say. So that's really cool. Another thing is the application page. We did a big redesign on that as well. So here you can see that the icons are bigger, and also it will scale out nicely if your has a low resolution or a high resolution, and it's easy to press on mobile devices. So it's a bit cleaner interface, and also you have the capabilities to create groups which are vertical aligned instead of horizontal, because that's more mobile friendly. You can also assign some colors to the groups, so you can just see easily what color is what type of group, but also, of course, you can also choose for the same color for everything as well. The other big one is you can, of course, sort still and create categories like a category favorite. I know in the previous version we had a favorites page, but now you can create your own favorite category and just drag and drop items in there. That's not the case for admin groups that are read-only. Those you cannot change, but you can still change the order. So I can say, okay, I want to have my Google group and I want to put it on top of the social group, or back again. So you have some changes you can do as an end user, but some things you can set as an admin easily. Also, it's easier to change multiple applications because I can select multiple applications like this and just move them to a different container. In this case, I don't have any containers because there's a read-only, but I can create my own categories like this. Let's say favorites. And then I can move it to favorites if I want to. All the applications that are not assigned to a particular category, you will see them on top here as unlisted. So if you want to, you can also say, okay, I don't want to use the categories, and then you will still have the applications just like this. And I think a nice one is always if you use the most used items. Sorry, I saw my mistake. I had it on the Dutch interface, so now it's on English. That's better, I think, because then they were ordered by most used, and of course the most used items you will use again, so it's nice to have them on top of everything. I think the same is with the products page. We also have the sorting, but in this case we don't have the most used, but it's on the name or descending name. Each page again, the interface is a lot cleaner, so it's easier to do on a mobile. And it's also possible to use a grid or a list if you want to. We're still going through some changes in the upcoming releases on the interface. So there will be a couple of changes, so if you have some feedback on it, please notice it in the feedback.helloid.com, or the best option is, I think, to go to the roadmap.helloid.com and go to give feedback. The other one is the links. Normally they were on top and now they are here, and they open a new screen. So if the case you have access to the admin portal, you can click on this and it will open a new tab with the admin portal, and also the case of the documentation. So you will be left on this page, so you can work further on that, and the admin is a separate page where you can work in as well. So it's most of all, it's a lot cleaner, more static, look, which works nice on mobile devices like tabs and phones. If you have any questions about this, you can put it on the YouTube, and I can check the questions. But let's go to, because I think there are some answers on the order of features. Let's go to the questions. Okay, so I see the PowerShell data source and then the filter contract data for business rules. So I will start with the PowerShell data source. The filter contract data for business rules, I will show a little bit about that, but I think it's nicer to see that in the dynamic permissions when we have that in the next release, because it's a sort pre-feature for that feature. But you still can do some things with this feature as well, for the filter contract data for business rules. So the PowerShell data source. Let's go to Service Desk, because I prepared something for that. We built this because we had a lot of complaints about the performance and the speed of the forms in the service, or delegated forms, or of course in the products, and the loading times of the data sources. So we improved that with the new infrastructure, and you will also have a new service on the agent, but it's still the same agent package. So if you already have the agent installed, you have nothing to do. Else you can just install the normal agent and you will have the new service which will be available. So I created a little demo form which I can compare the old situation and the new data source techniques. So the left side is the old situation and the right side is a new one. So what I have here is a form for AD group management. And the first option is I can search for users. So if I type in A, it will search in Active Directory for the users A. So this is a real-time situation where both the data sources are searching inside the same Active Directory, the same users. Everything is the same. Almost the same PowerShell script as well. So you can see the right side was loading a lot faster. And even if I go to one item, it's still a lot faster. And sometimes the old situation could be fast, but it's not as steady as the new one. And I think in the next screen you will see, I will selecting those users, and in the next screen I will load up all the groups and group memberships and some details. So there are 3 data sources. So there you will see the difference also really good. So here again, the right side is the new data source, and now it's complete, and the left side is still loading, and now it's complete. So to show you that again, it's really faster, and it's not some default behavior of particular ones. Again, if I search, the right side is a lot faster than the left side. And again, if I'm loading the 3 data sources, right side is done. Well, the left side is fairly quickly this time. But like I said, the new data sources are a lot more steady, and I think there is some 200 milliseconds of overhead. But of course, we're still dependent on the PowerShell script that is running and is detecting the data source and sending the data back. So if the script is slow, it's still going to be slow to load the data sources. So there's no change in that, but the overhead is really low on the new data sources. How can you use the new data sources? It's fairly easy. If you go to the admin panel, we can go to the self-service. We have the data sources, of course. And here we can just say add data sources. Type in my name. So in this case, I want to get let's say an AD get user function. Just select on the PowerShell. So this is the new one. So the previous one was task, where you have to select the task, but now we have PowerShell. Then I can go to the next. So this is still the same data source input. There is a small difference, is that normally in the task data source we have the requester as input, but that is always supported in the new data source. You don't have to put it in as an input. It's always there, so you can always use it inside the data source script if you want to. And you can just use it with the requester variable in PowerShell, but you can read the documentation on that. So I can create input elements just like the normal data sources or the other data sources. And now if I go to data source configuration, I have a screen where I can put my PowerShell into, and I can execute it at once. So maybe it's best if I open up a, let's say the group table, oh no, sorry. Let's open up data source. So this is the new one, so you can see execution of that. So here you can see the script. So it's a small script, and I can just press on the executing data and it will execute automatically. So you don't have to create any task and link them. You can just do it here and you'll see the received data, and it will receive the data up until a limited amount, and then it will show that there are more rows giving back, but you cannot see them in the received data because it's too much data. Of course, you can also see the received logs, and there's also a bit difference which make it easier to create these tasks is we support native PowerShell. So instead of using the HIT tasks, HelloID task, now you can use the write output to send information back. And if you want some logging, you can just say write information logging line. So if I'm now executing it, you can see the logging line is reported as information, so you can just easily test it in here. And of course you can test it locally and just put in the text here. You don't have to replace anything. So that's the major change, but I think that the major change of course is performance. It works faster, more stable, steady. Okay, I would like to go to the next feature. On the top of the head, let's check if there are new features on the list. Also, I'm going to go to the filter contracts. No, okay. So I'm going to show the filter contracts a little bit. And then I'm going back to other features. So the filter contracts, they're on provisioning side. Oh, my mistake, that was the wrong button. That's something we're going to check out later. Admin portal. So what the filter contract does is, if you have the business rules, you can create conditions on it. So let's say here we have a business rule administration, and you will see that it has a condition. So the person should be active, which means the contract is of course from the start and the end date in between. And the department discipline name is or contains any of admin. So it could be multiple departments in this case. So what we are doing now is, if you go to a target system, in particular a PowerShell target system, you will have the information which of the contracts of a person is in the scope of the permission that is assigned to that person. So if I go into a CSV system and I have here the account and account create, I've written a little bit of code here. So here I have departments list in scope. So what I'm doing here is I'm going through all the contracts and I'm checking if the context of a contract is in condition. And that's true or false in case if it's in the condition of a business rules. There's a little bit of an exception when the entitlement is in 2 business rules. All the contracts will be combined, so it will add up. So that's important to know. And what I can do here is just make a list of all the departments for that user that are, in this case, active and are contains the name admin. And I can use that as a variable. So in this case, I can select the person. And here in the preview, we will say no departments in the scope for this person. This is because in the preview, we set on the in conditions everywhere on false. Because we don't know what the entitlement is you want to assign to, so we don't know really what the in conditions are, or in this case what the contracts are which are in the conditions. So for the preview it's always false, so remember that. That's the reason why it will write out this line, because the department list in scope is empty and it's false. But if there are any departments that are in the scope when the entitlement is assigned and is granted, it will definitely add up all the departments in a list beside that, and it can put in an attribute. So I saw some consultants or at customers that we look through all the contracts and see if they are active. But in this case, I'll already have all my active contracts because they are in scope. In this case, the scope is a little bit smaller even, but if you have an account and you say, okay, granted on active, you will always have the active contracts because the context and in conditions is untrue on that contract. So it's easier to see, then you have to do a larger than and smaller than sign. Okay, let's go back to the questions to see if anybody has. No, I don't see any other reactions, so I'm going further with the presentation. So another big thing as a new feature is our reports. So we have a completely new report engine. Oh damn it, I have to go to the admin portal, my mistake. And you can access this with the reporting and control option. And you have to assign an elastic group for that, but you can read that in the documentation how you can set it up. But reporting and control, there are new reports available with the main focus on access management. So here we see access management. And we have 4 reports available, and the one we communicated was the MFA usage, which was a new one. And here you can see what the MFA usage for that portal for this customer enjoy environment is. So here you can see what user has logged in with what type of MFA. So this is a whole new platform which we are using. It's a little bit slow in loading, but it will load. So here I can see with the MFA usage report, I can easily see, okay, 72% of everybody which is logging in with two-factor is using the Authenticator app. And here you can see it over time, and you can also see the different other MFA usages. Here we can see the users. So this is my most active user on MFA, and I think this is the top 5 or 6 or something like that. And of course you can see a record of all the users, what they use, and in this case you can see Michael Bars, you see Authenticator on 6th of January, and it used the push to verify option. But sometimes also here it doesn't use the push to verify, so they put in the code manually. So this is really nice, and another thing is interactive. So what I can do is, if I want to zoom in on the Authenticator, I can just click on it, and it will automatically create a filter, and it will be on top here. and it will only show the people in that case and only show the records that are using the authenticator. And also, of course, the timeline. So it will change the whole dynamics of the report. And I can also remove the filter, of course. And the other thing is I can also select the user here. So I just Farid. Oh, clicked wrong. Apply changes, and it will scope down to a single user, and I can see, okay, 90% of the time he's using the authenticator and a little bit the WebAuthn protocol. And again, I can here see the records for it. And with most of the elements, I can press on and click on, and it will filter automatically. So if we go back again, and I can even press here on a value, filter for this value, and again, it will filter the data for the particular person or this particular email address on the whole report. And so we have a couple of more reports available. So the other one is application usage. So here we can see which applications are mostly used inside the portal, by what user, of course. So here we can see the it's still loading, of course, but the Citrix desktop is the most used application, and here you can see it over time. So this is a kind of a demo environment, so the lines are a little bit strange, but I think it's better with real used portals. And of course I can still select here my application or a user to zoom in this report. And also we have the top users here, and again we have the application, when there's logged in what continent, which devices used. So I see here iOS, so an iPad or Windows 10, also the city. So of course it could be some sensitive data in this report. So I think only administrator, we will grant only administrators currently this option. Also we have the portal login location. So I already show that we also logging the location, the region and the city, and we also have a report that has a map on it with all the locations which are recently logged in. So here I can press this one and it will zoom automatically to all the locations, and here I can see if there are any strange locations that are logged into. So in this case I think it's quite normal. Most of them are in the Netherlands, but some are in Paris and some of them are in Germany. I think I'm back again. Oh, damn it. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, my streaming software crashed, so that's the reason why it didn't work. But a new feature which is really nice is that you can create your own reports. So you have a report management button here, and you can create a new report. And if you want the full specs, you can search on Kibana documentation. But what I can do here is create a new dashboard, and I can create a new visualization, and I'm going through this a little bit quickly because of the time, but because you can do a lot of stuff here. Let's say I want to create a pie of every failed and success. So you see here a bucket, a terms, and I can search on successful login. So update. Oh, sorry. Don't forget to change the time in the upper left corner. So now I'll show the 3 months update. and you will see a new form where you can see true and false of the login successes of the portal. And now I can press save, save login, failures, save and return. I can save the dashboard here and say, okay, login attempts. Let's make it this one. I can save it again. And now if I'm going back to HelloID, so it's really a simple report, but you can do a lot more. But if I refresh the page again, you will see now there's an enjoy, and now there is a login attempts, which is my report I just created. So you can easily create new reports and just show them inside the portal, so everybody can show them in as a because you can give permissions. I think my software is still a little bit shaky, but here you can see the true and false that I just created inside the Elastic. But you can do a lot of things there, and we will add more data in the future, a lot more data. Another feature I want to show you really quick is the multiple enrollments. So here we can see the second factors, and previously you can add an email, but now if I already have an email, I can add an email again, or I can add 2 authenticator devices, or anything like that. So you can have multiple enrollments of the same type, and if you log in, you have to select which one you're using. In the next release, we're going to add a default option, so it will automatically select the first one that is enrolled as a default, but you can change it, so it's easier to log in because you're directly to that second factor, which is really nice. The last one I want to show is the in the admin portal for provisioning, because it's requested a lot of times, and it's particular for Active Directory, but there are multiple places where you can use that, and it is to export reports. So we have a new button here where you can export reports, and it will be exported to a CSV file. So here you can export all the persons that are correlated with accounts, export the uncorrelated person or the uncorrelated accounts. So you can easily more easily check them inside the network, or see if everything is good and up and running. But also you can do this with audit logging. So if you go to audit logging, we also have the same option. And it's the same with the entitlements overview and the persons. So now you can just easily export them, and all the values that are shown in the report will be exported. So if you search on here, or you use the filter, so let's say I only want to see the errors, and export it, you will only get this list. So the export is responsive on the filtering and the searching of the logging. I think that are all the options and features I wanted to show you guys. Let me check if there are any questions. No, there are not. Okay, then I would like to thank you all for checking this webinar out. If you still have any questions, you can place a comment on this, or use the chat, of course, and we will respond on that about this webinar. Next up, there's also going to be a webinar about the roadmap, so we can discuss that and check if you want to give feedback on that. And of course, if you have any feedback on the software, you can go to roadmap.helloid.com, or if you want to check any features planning, And of course, if there is anything wrong with the software, you can contact support. But please check the docs.helloid.com first. And of course, as last, don't forget to subscribe, so you will get notified when we have new videos, release videos, or just some explanation videos, or of course this webinar. So thank you.